just like you were saying, it's like I feel like I just started, but I feel like I've been here for so long already. It's a really awesome feeling in a sense of, it's like that saying of I met an old friend for the first time. It's just that feeling of, feeling like you're in the right spot and doing the right kind of work.
In this episode of Voices from the Field, we meet NCAT's new carbon farm planner in Texas, Cody Brown. Cody's friend, and now colleague, NCAT Sustainable Agriculture Specialist Darron Gaus, talks with him about his background, the work he's doing at NCAT now, how producers can get involved in that work, and his hopes for the future. Let's listen.
So welcome everybody to Voices from the Field. My name is Darron Gaus. I'm a sustainable ag specialist based out of the San Antonio office in the Southwest region. And today I am joined by Cody Brown, one of our newest NCAT specialists. He is a carbon farm planner here in Texas. I guess we're going to get to know him today. And I'll be straightforward here. I already know Cody. I have known Cody since about 2014. We met at Texas State University, where we both got our undergraduate degrees. So I guess we'll start there. Cody, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you did at Texas State and your little background.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. And howdy, y'all. My name's Cody Brown. I was born and raised in Andrews, Texas, which is a little town out in the Permian Basin near Odessa, Midland area. So I grew up in the desert oil fields of West Texas, and I got out of there pretty much as soon as I could and headed right to Central Texas, where, like Darren was saying, I got my bachelor's degree in horticulture business management. And then after that, I pursued, I worked in the wholesale ornamental plant industry for, I guess it was 2 to 3 years right after that. And you knew it wasn't my passion, but you're still growing plants. But deep down, I was like, well, I really want to be in the food industry, as food is a necessity, whereas real pretty trees and shrubs aren't always a necessity of life directly, you know. And then Dr. Wagner from Texas State University calls me up one day when I'm sweating in the field, and she says, "Hey, we're starting a new graduate program at Texas State, and we thought you might be interested." And so there I go, back to school, and I went and got my graduate degree, my master's in integrated ag sciences. And my focus in grad school was on cover crops, and I helped put together a periodic table of cover crops for my uh, graduate program. That's essentially how I got my master's. And then I graduated and finished my master's in 2020 in the middle of quarantine. And so me and my buddies had ample time to write a business plan. So we started Growtopia Farms in November of 2020. And we grow vegetables and mushrooms at a farm just here outside of San Antonio. And then back in March, and it's been wonderful. It aligns perfectly with what I enjoy doing as far as, my life and lifestyle and career choice. But also, there was always a part of me being a farmer of, I missed that aspect of sharing that I got a lot of when I was in academia, but not so much when you're just farming by yourself in a field. So, yeah, it's nice to utilize and very rewarding to utilize what I've learned and who I've met to kind of share and yeah, help other farmers. It's been excellent.
Okay. And I guess, we'll we'll talk about the remember all the fun times at Texas State later after this podcast. But um, so I guess what kind of brought you to NCAT? How did you hear about it? Have you used NCAT and ATTRA as a farmer before, and how does that kind of align with your passions?
Yeah, I did. I guess the first time I heard of that was it was 2017. I was at the Small Producers Initiative conference, and I met Robert there, Robert Maggiani. I met him. Dr. Mix introduced me to him. That was my first introduction with NCAT, and I got a little bit of insight on what they did. And Dr. Mix always spoke highly. But then I was reintroduced with NCAT, actually with you, Darren, when you came out, and we were seeking assistance with a wholesale readiness program to help small farmers kind of get into wholesale or help answer questions. And so you came out as an NCAT representative out to the farm when we were still in Lockhart at that time. So yeah, I got direct hands-on help from NCAT at that time and got to know got to reintroduced with you and then got to know Robert a little bit. And then yeah, as soon as I think you might have shared the job with me, but however, it was either you or Dr. Mix, but I found out about the job and I was super excited about it, and I was like asking everybody I knew if I was even qualified for the position, because I was like, this just sounds way too cool, way too good. I don't know if I'm the guy for the job. And so, yeah, it all came full circle, and it's been a wonderful experience.
And you still are farming, right? Like you and your business partners are still working together, and we're still trying to get a little bit more wholesale success ready with that farm, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Yeah, me and my business partner Quentin Rowland, we're really looking to transition into wholesale. We have an acre planted right now, still running the market styles, but this year in particular, we're seeing markets just not perform like they used to. Consumers just aren't buying in the same demeanor and behavior as they used to. So we're looking for stability, and also, I have a baby on the way, and Quentin is aspiring to be a father as well. And so you start taking into account not working every Saturday, Sunday at a farmer's market. And yeah, it starts sounding really good. So actually, yeah, I've been in talks with Robert again on, circling back with that. And yeah, we're definitely dedicated. Next April, we're going wholesale only. So we're going to make the leap. If it wasn't for Quentin, I don't know how I'd be doing it all. So he's really holding down the farm right now as far as Growtopia. And, we have a hand or two that can come help here and there. But like I said, we just have an acre right now. So yeah, I'm working every Saturday, Sunday, but it's farmers market work. So that's kind of the fun part of being a farmer. You get to talk to all your customers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good, and that's exciting that you got fatherhood coming up too. All new for Cody Brown. And
Oh yeah.
so your work with vegetables kind of aligned pretty well with some of the projects that you first started working on and still working on as the carbon farm planner. We had kind of already started working with Matt Simon at New Leaf and doing a carbon farm plan for him, and he's a vegetable producer on 20 acres. And so your background is tying in well with this work that you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit more about the projects you're working on right now and a little bit into the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes easy conversation when I get on the property with folks just because I'm just as excited as they are, and especially on when they're in production, and when I got to meet Matt and be like, "Oh, yep, I'm having those same problem with your squash that I'm seeing on my property." So it's nice to be able to relate with folks like that. So I got to help with the back end of that New Leaf project, not so much in the farm plan writing, the carbon farm plan writing, but I did help coordinate the first carbon farm demonstration day for New Leaf, which I think was a good success. We had a good turnout. Responses were good. We've got a lot of interest, just from that one demonstration day and going to Quivira and going to some of these Texas Grazing Land Coalition talks or meetings and talking about carbon farm planning, we've got some real traction going already, and it's really exciting and it's really demanding. And so some of the things that we have going on right now is, well, for one, being my first full carbon ranch plan for the Hershey Ranch just outside of Fredericksburg there with Andy Sansom, Garrett Coons. And so that's going to be my first big tackle project. That's my main priority focus right now. From now until I think I've set my deadline, November 1, I want it done. And so from now to then, working on their carbon farm plan for the Hershey Ranch. That's going to be a big project. That's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of collaboration. And other than that, we're also building out a pipeline of interest, and I'm also servicing some other interested producers that have come down through the pipeline, including ACC, Elgin campus with their farm out there in Elgin, Hopeful Farm Share. We've gotten some great interest and working with some great producers. We've got, I think now, 10 producers that have completed the onboarding interest form. I've conducted intro phone calls with over half of them and some site visits as well. So it's really catching traction. It's a whole lot of fun. And we have our training coming up, our first training in September. And the last 3 weeks of September is going to be the first carbon farm planner training in Texas. And so then we'll start building out our network of carbon farm planners that we can help utilize to help service these folks that have already come to us interested in getting carbon farm plans written for their property. So yeah, that's a whole lot of interesting things going on, and I'm almost 100% sure I'm leaving something out. Oh, we're working on building a website for the carbon farm planning in Texas, and some other exciting stuff coming up.
The ATTRA website has been connecting sustainable agriculture students and farmers around the country for decades. Our free internship hub makes it easy to find interns or farmers looking to hire interns. If you're looking for some practical experience on a working farm to bolster your studies, or you want to pass on the wisdom of your experience in exchange for some willing elbow grease, stop by at attra.ncat.org.
Sound like you're busy already. You just started and you're already getting going. That's good. So, just for the folks that are listening that may not have heard the last two podcasts about carbon farm planning in Texas and carbon farm planning in general with CCI, we'll put those links in the show notes here to those other two podcasts that we did with Matt as well and with Elise Hashke, the climate programs coordinator. And I guess just a little bit here, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is carbon farm planning and what all does it entail? What are you working on, like, as you go to these farms and ranches?
Yeah, in a nutshell, without talking half a day about what carbon farm planning is, that's easy to do too. But in a nutshell, it's holistic conservation farm and ranch planning that's focused on the carbon cycle, in particular the soil carbon cycle, and how carbon is the driving force of all life on the planet Earth. And especially when you start talking about agricultural working lands, it's become, and it's extremely important now that we work to recarbonize our agricultural working lands and add carbon back into the system in almost every diverse way that you could think of. The reason we have to do that is because of the way that our current food system and some things in our past have led us to produce food a certain way, and the way we consume food, and it's got us in a bad spot that agriculture is in a really poised position to lead the way in the climate beneficial efforts. And so what carbon farm planning is, it's that conservation planning, we do a 20-year outlook on average, and we take into consideration everything, be it the soil type, the topography, the ecosystem region, watershed involvement, agricultural production, and then we take the landowner's goals at the main priority of how we focus the planning process. We take the goals of the landowner and the land manager, and then we start conservation planning efforts. And what that looks like is utilizing mapping tools to map out the property, map out infrastructures, map out all the potential areas where carbon could be sequestered and stored. And then the practices that we suggest for implementation, we utilize the NRCS framework for conservation planning, and they have what are called CSP codes. And so we utilize that same language so that folks, and for example, that language looks like windbreaks, hedgerows, pollinator plantings, cover crops, mulching, grazing techniques, nutrient management, all of those climate beneficial practices that could be implemented on the property. We identify those, we map it out, and then we quantify those practices in Comet Planner and Comet Farm. And what that gives us is a table that shows practices implemented and what their greenhouse gas quantification benefit is. And that's a powerful tool for a landowner and a land manager to have, to show them exactly that what they're doing and how much benefit it has. And it could be a powerful tool for them as landowner and land manager, not only one for guidance on implementation, but also for funding acquisition. If they're looking for applying for some grants or some other source of funding, that's a powerful tool to be able to quantify your greenhouse gas impact. And so, in a nutshell, I'd say that's close to what a carbon farm plan is, and what the main focus is, and what the outlook we hope to have is.
And tell us a little bit more about you said that, there was kind of a pipeline of interest. How do folks connect with us? Is it something that we can include in the show notes here, a link, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a general interest on onboarding form. We've created one of those really cool QR codes, and also I'll drop we can put the direct link as well. And so if you're an agricultural producer and you're interested in what a carbon farm or ranch plan looks like for your property, fill out that interest form and you're immediately put in the pipeline. I immediately get notified and I reach out to you directly, and we start the process, and we start talking about, carbon farm planning and what it looks like on your property, and we go from there. And also, if you are maybe not a direct landowner, but you have more questions about potential partnerships or how we could maybe help each other out, or any interest at all like that, but you're not an ag producer, just reach out to me in my email directly at codyb@ncat.org, and just start a conversation with me. I'm always willing to talk, sometimes more than people even want to hear. And so, yeah, I'd say that's the best way to get connected.
All right, sounds good. Easy enough to get connected with you, and like you said, start those conversations and get you down the path that you want to go. So, what's next? What do you see in the future for yourself at NCAT? What are maybe some projects that you want to see tackled or work on yourself?
Man, I'm just so excited about how much traction that this carbon farm planning project's already getting. I feel like, just like you were saying, is like I feel like I just started, but I feel like I've been here for so long already. It's a really awesome feeling, in a sense of, it's like that saying of I met an old friend for the first time. It's just that feeling of, feeling like you're in the right spot and doing the right kind of work. So, I really like to stay busy, and I think that this is going to keep me busy for a while, and just coordinating all this interest. And then as we start building out what this looks like and what partnerships are involved and how do we equitably service everybody that's going to express general and thorough interest, in what we're doing. And so, for me, that's a whole lot of fun because I love coordinating things. I love organizing things. I love planning things. I guess that's why I became a farmer in the first place, now that I'm thinking of saying it out loud. But yeah, so I'm just, I see myself staying, it would be great to move into a management position as, we develop more of this, what this climate program looks like for NCAT. And as we train more and more carbon farm planners, and as we build out a bigger network, I mean, we're a very large state, so there is no way I could even think about being the only one here in Texas doing it. But being in the process from the ground up, it's already so rewarding, and I just see how fruitful it's going to be in the coming years.
Yeah, for sure. You are the start of something huge, and not only for Texas, but for nationwide. It could impact all of NCAT, and so I'm glad that you're here and excited to continue working on stuff like that. So I'm gonna throw you a curveball here and ask you. Let me know something that I don't even know about you. Let's tell our audience a little bit more about Cody Brown.
Oh man, something you don't, man, I don't know. You know a lot about me. I've got one that'll be interesting for folks. I enjoy writing poetry and slam poetry, and sometimes I have been known to record some raps and write some lyrics for some songs. So I enjoy writing and poetry and just playing with words. Yeah, I'd say that's one thing a lot of folks don't know about me.
Nice. Yeah, I did not know that, and so that's pretty interesting. I won't put you on the spot even further and make you rap for us here. We'll,
Uh-oh.
we'll just end it here. So I'm glad you're with us here at NCAT, and look forward to working with you more. And welcome aboard. And just like you said, we'll put his email address in the show notes. And so if you want to reach out to him and start any of the conversations about carbon farm planning or pick his brain about vegetable farming here in Texas, we can do that. So thanks, Cody.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Pleasure to be here. Farm on, y'all.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Additional information about this episode and related resources can be found at attra.incat.org. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Voices from the Field wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Rich Myers. ATTRA, Voices from the Field, is produced by the National Center for Appropriate Technology, headquartered in Butte, Montana. It's supported by the USDA Rural Business Cooperative Service as part of NCAT's ATTRA Sustainable Agriculture program. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this recording are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the USDA or NCAT. We'll catch you again next week, and until then, keep on farming.